Hello, FewCandy here, and welcome back to Fewnilla County. And we're just starting off with a very brief time lapse today to add in a small highway intersection and connect over to the other side of the river over here. Because the city is screaming at the moment. We've hit 55,000 population. Sewage Water Solutions Inc. has no longer got any capacity for sewage. I have been dropping in some sneaky oil power plants because we've been running out of power. And we also need increased garbage processing capacity as well. So we're having a major services boost today so that we can keep on growing the city and growing our population and not have our citizens complain. Everyone in Fewnilla County should be very happy, and obviously with that we want to provide them sewage treatment to start off with so their toilets aren't overflowing. So that's what we're going to be doing today across here on the other side of the river. So the first thing I wanted to do was add in this highway intersection here just to join in the end of our ring road, our national highway ring road, which flows right around to the other side of the downtown, or will when we eventually open up that tile over there. So I thought connecting it into the highway here gave another opportunity for citizens to get into the city, because at the moment there's still only our one major intersection actually linking people into the city until, again, we can unlock the other tile on the other side of the river where we have lots of our fertile land to add in our second highway connection directly straight through into the downtown area. So adding this in, I think that's going to get quite a lot of usage from people coming in from the highway from this direction into the map and jump straight onto that national road and get around the city wherever they want, nice and easily that way. And with that, we're also going to kind of loop it around and connect it into the collector that we left sticking out of the John Robinson Lumber Inc. area. So that's going to kind of connect that up on the edge of our tile boundary over here, because I don't think we're going to be unlocking these other tiles because I already have our final two tiles earmarked for the one next to the downtown and also the one to expand our farming and our highway infrastructure over the other side as well. So yeah, this is it. This is it into the corner down here. So I think some waterfront services are going to go in really nicely. So we'll be adding a water treatment plant, a nuclear power station, and also a big garbage processing facility all kind of combined into one. So with that, let's jump in and get started on the build. So we're going to put our nuclear power station down on this little plateau down here. I've kind of terraformed this out a little bit to get it a bit flatter and run this road around the outside of it for entrance into it. I think as part of that, a canal is always needed. So let's do that first and start adding this in. So I'm going to kind of make it relatively square so it'll fit, hopefully, nicely around our power station. We're going to see if the water is going to go into that with a shallow canal. Hopefully it will. Let's ramp it up to 3 speed. And we also want to check that our nuclear power station is going to fit in this side, which it is. So yeah, we've comfortably got enough room here. Now in terms of orientation of it, I kind of want those cooling towers pretty noticeable, and I don't know whether they should be noticeable from this highway or actually from this bridge. I'm kind of thinking from the bridge, so I'm thinking we'll put the road along the outside here, maybe with a key along it. And yes, lovely, we've got lots of water flowing into there. Is it going to flood? Yes it is. Yes it is. Okay, so to help that out, perhaps we make this a little bit of a deeper key. Wow, it's going to flood absolutely everywhere. So let's make the start a bit deeper, and then we'll do these as medium along here and see if that helps the process at all. This river is, well, I have got it on 3 speed, but it is pretty like fast flowing. A little bit of a river rapids vibe going on in Fewnilla County for sure. But let's see if actually having that deeper one helps at all. Perhaps we'll need to raise up the land a little bit to stop it overflowing. I'm going to give it a little bit of time and see if it settles out here. Okay, we've done it. Finally. That took a lot of fiddling. So I raised the land up a little bit. I actually put in a shallower canal at the entrance and then deeper canals all the way around, and just terraformed the land out a little bit here to give a bit more protection to the water flow kind of coming into the canal. And now it's all settled out, and actually it's a pretty nice water level that we've got here. It's quite near the top, which I think is always a tricky thing in vanilla with canals, so quite pleased with that actually. So let's go ahead and add in a road for our nuclear power station. Now I kind of want this to be tucked up right against the canal this side. So we want to sort of make sure that it's going to fit in pretty snugly, so we can move that back probably by 1 or 2 points actually here. So let's delete out that section of the road. We'll leave this as a bit of a guide to see where we have already terraformed. Yeah, so here perhaps would be quite good to get it in nice and snug. Let's also connect this across the canal because obviously we're going to want access there. Let's grab our nuclear power station. Yes, we can fit it in really nice and snugly around the canals there, which I absolutely love. Yes, that's fit in really, really nicely. Pleased with that. Okay, let's delete out our little holding roads here. I might actually just trim this back a tiny bit as well. Because in terms of other assets that we're going to bring in here, I'm actually going to bring in some oil and some ore assets. Now, of course, everyone does this. This is no surprise. This is nothing new. I'm recycling old content, definitely from other creators here. But we can add in the little ore storage here too. And I'm wondering if actually it would fit in like this. We just draw in a small road network up this way. But this is wider, actually, so we can't get it in there. Let's trim out this road here. And let's see if we can slot it in reasonably close to the edge like that. I just think obviously as other creators have done in the past, again I'm definitely not claiming this as a new original idea here, this asset just works so well in a nuclear power plant environment. So let's connect it in like that. We can do something with that bit, but we can't handle the road looking like that. Definitely not. So let's just continue to push out the edge of the landscape here, and we can always terraform it back in when we want to later on. And we'll continue to draw the road up this way, and yes, that's loads better. Much happier with that. Now if we continue on actually this way, again we'll need to draw out the landscape. I am wondering if we can fit in the big waste processing facility into here as well, because I feel like with the two little cooling towers or kind of smokestack towers that we have in here, it might actually fit into this area quite well as part of the actual power plant. It's definitely got that big sort of industrial vibe to it. Dare I say it, I think we need to trim the canal back though, because it's a little bit close to that road over there. So if we just trim it back to the edge of the ore storage, oh no, we're definitely going to have floods here. Then we can see if we can just get this in a little bit closer. So let's turn off these, we'll just keep angle on and we'll go up to there. Okay, I think that's going to work pretty nicely. So let's go ahead and just move this up a little bit closer. Cannot build on water, wonderful. Okay, let's speed up time. And there we go, we can now fit that in, and that's much better up against this road here. So yeah, I'm quite liking the vibe of this with the ore storage, the big garbage processing site, and the power plant. Of course, we actually need to connect the road in though. Now, I would really like to put a toll booth in here. I feel like that would be somewhat realistic with a nuclear power plant for security purposes. However, I'm not really sure the landscape is necessarily going to allow us to do that. We could put it right up here up the top, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. We have a look at that looks like. Yeah, it's not too bad. And in fact, I think we will upgrade all of these roads to industrial roads too. I definitely don't want parking on them. I think that's not appropriate for a site such as this. Let's see if we can just get this down the hill and coming nicely into our road here. That's not too bad, and it's moments like this that I actually relish the road tools in CS1 and the way they flatten the land a little bit nicer than CS2. Okay, and then up this point we're actually going to be putting in the water treatment as well. So let's draw out a road that's going to run along here. The terrain is a bit bumpy. We might want to smooth that out just a little bit, but we'll come back to this in a second. We'll just leave a holding road there for the moment. But that adds connection into the power plant itself. I don't think we're going to connect it up this end. I think we'll have a kind of one way in, one way out system. Although because we do have the garbage here, it probably would be good to have a secondary entrance. Let's put a toll booth. Where's our pillars on our highway? Yeah, if we put a toll booth here as a secondary entrance, I think that we can actually connect this in underneath the highway. We can, yeah, so that's going to work. Let's just grab our terraforming tools and make this a little bit flatter so we can sit the road in nice and straight along the edge here. And then yeah, we can directly connect that into the toll booth this side. So that does give them, yeah, multiple ways in and out. Oh my goodness, we have got a massive flow of trucks. I'm suspecting, yes, that is for the ore storage there. Yes, it is. So as well as part of this, I did mention I would like to bring in some oil too. So our oil industry is really lackluster in Fewnilla County, just because we pretty much don't have any raw oil resources within the boundaries. In fact, we don't have any within the 9-tile boundary that we have within this city. So we did have, you may remember, back in Tyler Energy Corp over here, we've got our oil industry set up so that it imports raw ore into our storage facilities and then processes it into plastic and petroleum. But it's not very big. So I'm actually thinking as part of this power plant, it would look pretty cool to extend that out. So if I don't really want to have another main building in here. So I'm just thinking with our industrial area, can we trail? We can. This all the way across. And add a little bit extra to our ore industry over this side. Thinking we could also bring it down this side too, potentially. I'd like to get some offices and administration, of course, into the power plant, which I think would be absolutely realistic as well. So we'll see how that goes. And then we can just trim off our little trail there. And then let's have a little look at what assets we would like to place. Now, of course, we're going to need some kind of storage for this. So oil tankers would probably be very appropriate for here. We have also got the big pipe kind of underground crude oil storage cavern. That's the one. I think the tanks are probably what I'm going to go for. I think that would look pretty cool. So let's see how we can fit this actually into this space really nicely so that we're getting the buildings up against each other. Because in vanilla, there's not a huge amount of industrial detailing opportunities, let's be honest. So we want to kind of make sure we're filling the space appropriately with assets so it gives us that kind of nice packed in vibe that we'd probably want in here. I'm forgetting I'm not using the industrial roads. Let's go back and correct that. There we go. And in terms of processing, so we haven't even unlocked the larger facilities here. So we've still only got the petrochemical plant and the oil sludge pyrolysis plant. So this one could potentially fit in quite nicely up this side. I'm wondering if that could actually even be angled a little bit more vertically up towards the road. Let's see if we can bring this in across. We can't there. Wonderful. Let's snap back into our different options with our roads here so that we can have that running really nicely along the side like that. And can we fit that in there? We could definitely add some fence or something along that road to help that sit in a little bit better, but I think that'll go. This one's actually smaller. This may be better. Yeah, let's drop... In fact, we could probably drop 2 of those in there and not have it be too unusual. And then let's see about our larger plant this side. Yeah, so we can fit a few of those down in this side as well. Could we also add another storage cavern potentially to help them out? I think that's probably going to be a little bit overkill. But that does give us 5 more processing buildings here, which I think is pretty handy, really, for what we want this side. Or we could fit in the smaller storage. That could potentially sit quite nicely there up against the back. Because then as well, when we're on this highway, we're getting this really kind of heavy industrial view right up close to it. It's maybe a little bit close for comfort, but I think it works quite nicely. And they will stop complaining, hopefully, once those buildings start filling up, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem there. And then let's have a little look and a talk about some administration buildings down this side. I'm wondering if we have got any of the Japanese office buildings left that we could put in here, and we do have a couple actually. We've got the small office building, and we do have the city office building. This one's maybe a little bit big, I think, for what we want here, but the small office building could definitely fit in here quite nicely somewhere. I'm thinking maybe we terraform out a little platform for it here. So on this piece of road here, and it could kind of sit underneath the cliff. A little bit of a view for the main admin building out over the river, perhaps. Not that I think they would necessarily be factoring in a view for the workers when they're building out this power plant, but this is Fewnilla County after all. Yeah, I quite enjoy that. And then we could go for a little bit of office zoning out here. I don't want anything too big, so we need to be a little bit careful with this. We'll see what assets come in. And then up here, oh, that's a little bit close to the canal for comfort in terms of the angle of the road. Perhaps we'll come out this way. Angle like so, And then we could have another larger office building perhaps here, accompanied with maybe some car parking in this side. Yeah, so I think we'll have a small car park there. Let's actually trim this off. We'll go back to there, and then we'll have another office building in next to it, and also one over this side, potentially. We have got a little bit of industrial office jobs demand, so hopefully these will actually materialise and generate into our area, but time will tell. Time will tell. Let's rezone that one back in. Okay, so we'll wait for those to come in and see how those look. In fact, we could go for another larger one over this side as well, and I think we'll keep the bank nice and clear. Now, in terms of having the oil down here too, I do want to offer some warehouses and storage for it. So I'm thinking right up close to the highway intersection here would be a good place for that. So yeah, we'll use our industrial roads again. Why not? We're going to draw out a little small kind of road structure here that is probably not going to be very happy over that terrain. So let's just raise this platform and flatten this platform a little bit up here. Then we can draw the road across this way. Let's go in and grab, I think, a nice simple warehouse like that, and then potentially a warehouse yard. I don't think anything more than that is actually really needed here. And then we can add these to petroleum and the other one onto plastics, just so that they are taking the products from here and storing them here and then distributing nice and closely to the highway intersection actually around. Now, we've got a bit of a problem at our toll gates, and I'm just thinking this is the first toll that we're actually putting in. So let's go ahead. I think it's in city planning, automated toll. Yeah, increases vehicle flow through the toll booths, but reduces the income. I'm not really too worried about the income, to be honest. Like, we are losing a lot of money now with our power plant and our waste facilities in, but we're also going to come in and add a lot more unique factories. So that should hopefully build back up as time goes on, I hope. But equally, I'm not too worried about losing money on this. I think that's okay. In terms of power, here's my sneaky oil plants. So let's actually go ahead and get rid of those. And then we can just check power consumption on here to check that we are still matching the city's needs. It looks like way overkill. Yeah, I mean, with the power plant now, we're absolutely fine from that perspective. I'm not obviously going to come in and start changing up our Tyler Energy Corp here or our solar energy or anything like that, because they're aesthetically part of the city and the old infrastructure, of course. So we have got more than enough power to take Fewnilla County through its entire growth cycle, I would say, with this one nuclear power station. So that should do nicely. From a garbage point of view, so what we do have is the Reduce, Refuse and Recycle Centre over here, which has quite a lot of recycling facilities, the processing and also the landfill. But it's not really been enough for our city, so this garbage processing facility should really help us with that. Yeah, which is now much, much better than it was. However, we do want to come in and add in the waste transfer facilities too. So we need to find some appropriate places for that, which is going to be tricky, honestly, when I've like detailed up the entire city the way I have. I'm wondering if actually we could add one close to this industrial area where I had sneakily plopped those oil power plants in the corner here. I don't feel like that would look too amiss. And then I'm wondering if there's somewhere over this side that we could possibly... Oh, we've got a level 4 oil. That's interesting, actually. So we do have the waste oil refining. Oh, yes, we have some more buildings now, so we might need to come in and change that up, actually. Let's have a little look at that in just a second. There isn't any houses round here. So I'm wondering if we could slot it in as part of this industrial area, this side. I think what I'm going to do is pop it in there for now, behind the police station, and we can come in and change that. Unfortunately, again, this is our tile boundary here. We'll be extending out into this tile and this tile, but probably not this way because we only have 9. So yeah, there's only these 2. I think that will be okay. The other place I'm thinking is up in this corner as well, because then that'll give us pretty good coverage across the whole city. Now I am going to come in and do something with this area, so we'll come back to this, but let's placeholder this in for now so that we've got it in there. I don't want it too close to those houses, actually. We need to be a little bit mindful of... Oh, yeah, it's not too big a radius. So yeah, let's plop this in here for now, and we're going to come back to this area. We're going to do a lot of development over there, so that can be replaced later on. Now in terms of our oil, let's have a little look at what we've actually unlocked here. So yes, we do have the waste oil refining plant now available, and also the larger oil storage, which I'm quite attracted to actually. Now this one small? It is. And that one is producing petroleum. Same as our other actually small buildings here. So let's upgrade a couple of these with the larger one, because in terms of orientation, those two go together particularly nicely if we sort of ignore the small gap in the fence in the middle. They've kind of got that big kind of courtyard in there all together. I'm wondering if we could actually squeeze in another set of that into this side as well. And then we're producing a lot of petroleum with that, so that will be very helpful, I think, overall to our city, and also, of course, our unique factories when we do come to put those in as well. Yeah, so we can have another combo over there. I really like that. They go together super well back to back. So we've got 2 large and 2 small of the petroleum, and 2 of the smaller plastics for the moment. We still haven't unlocked the cracker plant, which we can do later. I think in terms of the actual storage, I'm not too worried about having the larger one in here. This fits in relatively nicely into the limited space that we have available for the plant, so I think that is okay in the end. Okay, we've got a few offices coming in here as well. I'm not kind of too opposed to these style of ones. That one's maybe a little bit odd looking, I think, for what we want here. Let's get rid of that and we'll see if something else comes in there. But yeah, very happy with those 2 buildings. Lots of detailing needed around it, of course. And we'll want to come in and kind of flesh out this side of the road with fencing, definitely, for security purposes, and a bit more natural detailing too. I'm just thinking in terms of like helping the workers out, could we add a small little bit of commercial, or potentially even a cafe down here? So we could add in one of our small park cafes. Unfortunately, we can't put it underneath the bridge. Perhaps actually that goes this side, right next to the car park. It's a little bit dodgy on the terrain here. We'll want to flatten that out. So let's actually destroy those car parks just for the second and smooth that out like so. And then we can replace those and have that look a lot neater. It's still a bit bumpy. I'll come in and smooth that out later. But yeah, now we've got a cafe for our workers, so that should hopefully appease them and also give park entertainment to our zoned buildings, which will help them to level up as well. But yeah, I think that's okay. So let's come on to the sewage as well. Now this is not going to be any kind of massive plant. This is going to be pretty basic. Unfortunately, we may end up actually needing even more in our city. But I am going to go for the Eco Advanced Water Treatment. They're actually cheaper to run, I believe, than the advanced ones, 640 versus 560, and they do the same processing facility. So yeah, better for our environment ultimately, and better on the purse strings as well. So yeah, let's come in and smooth this out. It would be really good to get 3 in here, just so we're adding in that additional capacity for when we need it further down the line. And then we'll come ahead and add in a 3rd one at the top. So it's a little bit odd having sewage treatment above the office, I will admit. But that's where it fits. So that's what we're going for here. Yes, I know it's not ideal. It's not ideal at all. Now the final thing I do want to do is help our budget out a little bit by placing one more of the unique factories into this area. And the one I've decided to go for is the soft paper factory. And the reason for that is that it needs petroleum and plastics. Obviously we've got that right here in our warehouses right here. But it also needs crops and paper. Now paper is obviously coming from over here, crops from there, so it is pretty close. They've got decent road access into this area to transport the goods over here, because we don't have the cargo rail network. We do have a rail coming in over here, which we're going to put into a small village over this side. But I think this would sit in quite nicely over here, and then we can keep the noise and the dirty pollution away from where people are going to live in this area. So yeah, this I think would be quite an ideal position for it. So let's bring in a bit of a road network to start off with. Now we want to make sure that we're leaving enough space for storage here as well, for the crops and for the paper, to bring them over into this area to feed the factory nice and easily. I think that would be okay. Let's actually bring it forward a couple of notches further. Yeah, because then it sits in quite nicely around our highway network, adds to the skyline of this area a little bit as you're coming out of the city as well. Or indeed, when actually you're coming into the city. You're going to start off by seeing this big industrial processing as you look towards the lovely skyline over there. I'm so pleased with that. you'll see kind of how the city's growing, and once this side's all filled out, you'll see all of that kind of density up in the background with all of this low density out the front of it. Absolutely loving it. But yes, I think this sits in pretty nicely over here and kind of makes sense a little bit for the area because we've got those petroleum and plastics resources over here already. So let's also add in a few more warehouses. So we are going to want one for paper, and we are going to want one for unique factory products. And we're also going to need crop storage, which actually comes from the farms DLC. Now, I don't really want a barn over here, so I think it's probably going to have to be some silos, and actually that fits in too perfectly to deny. So let's do that. They feel very out of place. I wish there was some kind of better storage for that, honestly. But that's okay. That's okay. Perhaps we actually move them over there so it's a little bit less noticeable as you're driving into the city. Yeah, so it's kind of hidden by the sort of shadow of the factory in the background there. So let's assign these to paper and this one to unique factory products. And then that should be all good. We'll ramp up the production. They've already got loads of petroleum. Wonderful. Plastics, a little bit lackluster, but that's okay. So yeah, hopefully that will start helping our budget a little bit. I mean, we are fluctuating from positive to negative. I don't think it's too much of a problem. We've just spent a lot of money on a nuclear power plant and lots of sewage, and the waste transfer facility as well is pretty expensive. So I think we're okay with that. We could also add in a little bit more farmland, I think, when we come to do the village out here, which will help the crop supply to this area as well. So I think that'll be a nice effect. Let's just smooth off some of that nasty terrain boundaries that we've got going on there. I don't mind a little slope up around this side. I think that's okay. Okay, so I think that is all the main assets. So let's jump into a detailing time lapse and make this build come alive. So there we go, and I know service builds aren't everyone's cup of tea, but it is absolutely necessary to keep the city going. We've got a lovely space out here for a small suburb, some farmland and some nice waterfront housing perhaps over here if the pollution will allow. I think we should be far enough away from all of this that we can manage it, but yeah, I think this is sitting pretty nicely. The intersection is horrendous, but is actually working pretty functionally. Actually, traffic's flowing quite nicely. Quite a lot of people using it to get onto the ring road to go further down into Fewnilla County. So we have our soft paper factory over here, and I have purposefully left this very blank because as soon as we start putting in trees, of course, we're going to lose our fertile ground over here. So I do want to put in some farmland with some fields coming right up to the back of the factory. I think it would be quite a cool dynamic for this. It's a big factory, but I think we can make that look pretty good at least. So yeah, not too much really around here because of that fact, so we're going to leave that and we'll come back to it. But the warehouse is working nicely, filling up nicely, the factory's being super efficient. If we have a little look at budget, we are making a small amount of money at least. It's actually fluctuating up to some quite big numbers, but the factory working really nice and efficiently here, so that's pretty good. I think it's a suitable location for it as well. And then as we come down, yeah, lots of fencing around this whole complex, obviously, to make it feel secure, a little bit more decorative fencing around the water park. Like, this is nothing compared to Sewage works. It really is a token gesture to get some more sewage treatment into our city. And that's really it. We are going to ignore the fact it's uphill from our lovely little offices down here, where we've just added in some rocks along the waterfront, a bit more safety fencing as well, going down the steep slope. Got lots of undergrowth underneath the highway just to get rid of that horrible grass vanilla texture there, make that feel a little bit more realistic and alive. A couple of little offices that you saw previously. I think these assets actually are quite nice. I'm quite pleased with them, especially with the cafe sitting in here. I've tried to join the path up to the back of this, but obviously the game doesn't really work like that, so it is purely decorative in that sense. And we come on down here, I actually decided to use a key along the main waterfront here, which I thought was a nice effect, make it feel a little bit more purposefully built into the side of the river. Obviously with the water overflow in our canal, which you do find around nuclear power plants. So I think that's worked pretty well, and I'm really liking the views from this highway as you come round. Like, you can see the smokestacks of the downtown in the background. We need to do some work on this waterfront here, but yeah, I think it's pretty dominant actually for this area, even though it's a lot lower down than those highway networks, obviously. Coming up here, we've just added some fencing around our warehouse yards, not too much there, a little bit of foliage and rock detailing, a few trees along the back. And then I decided to try and make this into a little bit of a retaining wall-esque thing by doing the same trick we did in our fishing harbour area, where we used the park life decals to kind of make a little bit of a stone edge to it, a bit overgrown, like it's not been maintained super well, and like the factory's been here, or the power plant even has been here quite a long time, is what I wanted to go for with that, which I think sits in quite nicely. The oil is working really, really well down here as well. I'm loving the dynamic of the oil, the waste processing facility down into the actual kind of cooling towers of the nuclear power plant itself. I think that's kind of worked. We come out here, just more overgrowth, trees, fencing, security fencing as we come down into the other exit here. And that's pretty much it, really. Nice and simple. Oh, I did actually also add in a little bit of 1x1 oil, zoned oil industry here, because we get these nice little tankers with it, which I thought was a cute decoration. Added in some gravel pathing around here to sort of surface paint over the rest of those textures, and of course a pavement path along the edge of the quay here as well. Again, to just kind of fill that texture in with a bit more man-made concrete. So I think that's kind of worked okay. We've got a couple more little offices here, the horrendous cloud head, but it is what it is. Let's just historicalise those, because I quite like those from a height point of view. I think that works pretty well. There we go. So we are well equipped with services to continue on expanding out our population. So we have got a fair amount still to do in Fewnilla County. We've obviously got this tile to unlock, this tile to unlock, so we can get in our major, change this all up and have a four-way major highway intersection, which is going to run into the side of the downtown here. Lots more expansion around here too, and of course down in this side and also this area as well. So I think we'll probably have some more farmland or something like that over there. But then that is going to be Fewnilla County pretty much wrapped up. I mean, there's still a lot more, so don't worry, it's not wrapping up yet. But there we go, that is the build for today. So if you have enjoyed the episode, likes, comments and shares are really greatly appreciated. But that is all from me for now, so thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you again next time. Bye bye.